have the Carolina Panthers. You're on the clock first. Carolina, of course, traded up with the Chicago Bears to be on the clock. A lot of folks think they're taking their franchise quarterback. You're in the driver's seat now. Who are you taking at number one?
Yeah, and before we jump into that, the only thing I forgot to mention is we are doing 2 rounds, a little different from
Yep.
our first couple mock drafts. So you'll get to see all the way down to pick 64, I believe will be our 63 with the Chiefs will be our
53
last one.
officially. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not going to overcomplicate the Carolina Panthers yet. You're absolutely right. They did trade up to take their franchise quarterback. The odds-on betting favorite, if you look at the markets right now, is Bryce Young, and that's who we're going to take with the first overall pick. I know it's, back and forth. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, both have their ups, both have their downs. Bryce Young is just a gamer, man. I know the height is the big concern. I know the comparisons to taking Kyler Murray number one overall are kind of going to be out there, but I just don't see a path where the Panthers at this moment take someone other than Bryce Young with that number one overall pick.
It's fascinating. And I will disagree right off the bat. I know I'm about to be on the clock with the Houston Texans. There is a ton of smoke coming out from Bryce Young. I still am in the camp that there's a reason why CJ Stroud was thrown out as the immediate, like, oh, this is who they're trading up for. If you look at what Frank Reich likes with his quarterbacks and that coaching staff as a whole, I'm still believing they like that 6'3" plus quarterback, a pocket presence guy. Bryce Young to me is my best quarterback on the board. He's been my best quarterback since day one. So I love the pick from a value standpoint. I think unless you're going to take a guy like Will Anderson or Bijan Robinson at one, which would never happen, you're getting the best potential out of this draft selection. I maybe I'm going to get caught left behind. I still think the Carolina Panthers take CJ Stroud from Ohio State at number one, but I love that there's a debate again because when everybody did pivot to CJ Stroud, I was going, what about Bryce Young? Why are we forgetting the best playmaker potentially in this draft? Any concern at all about his size?
I mean, there's always going to be concern about the size, but my biggest thing is Bryce Young has played at this size in the highest level of college football for what, 3 years now, and he's
Yeah.
won at the highest level in college football. I don't think, obviously the NFL is a different animal than even the SEC. Bryce Young, even with the size, is still about as sure of a thing that you can get at this number one pick. Quarterback picking is such a crapshoot most of the time as well. The fact that we have two
Yeah.
guys that I think are pretty, interchangeable at number one, have their own flaws, but interchangeable, and you're pretty confident that they're going to be a solid starter for you for a few years. That's about as good as you're going to get.
Okay, so Carolina Panthers go Bryce Young. Now that puts the Houston Texans on the clock. That's my selection. Now, depending on where you look, there are kind of opposite reports going through here that D'Amico Ryan's new head coach at Houston is both looking for his franchise quarterback at number 2 overall and that he's willing to wait on that pick as well. You figure the Houston Texans, no matter who they take at number 2, figure to be kind of in that draft lottery for one of the top quarterbacks next year. Probably Caleb Williams is going to be the top name that everybody's waiting for. And so you're seeing guys saying that Houston's going to go ahead and address that need right now. You're also seeing folks say that, Houston may take the 2 best players available at number 2 and then again at number 12, whether that be on the offense or the defense, and wait on quarterback. You took Bryce Young, which I believe is the guy that they'd be okay with, but I think Houston wants CJ Stroud. I think that when they look at the quarterback they want to build around, sure, is Caleb Williams maybe the better quarterback prospect over CJ Stroud? Sure, but comparing 2 different quarterbacks in 2 different draft classes is really dangerous. Plus, you don't know what's going to happen with Caleb Williams this year. Maybe he just had a fantastic Heisman campaign last year. Maybe there's some regression this year. You never know. I think going ahead and getting that quarterback to start a new head coaching tenure is what's kind of the tried and true method. You don't have to reach here. You don't have to hope your guy falls. CJ Stroud, quarterback from Ohio State, is going to be the pick. I know that Will Anderson is on the board and that he would be fantastic in Battle Red for Houston, but the promise of getting a high level quarterback, I think, is something you can't ignore here.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think the fans down in Houston would probably have a mutiny if CJ Stroud is on the board and he's not taken by the Texans and they don't trade down either. I think if you're not going to take a quarterback at number 2 overall, you have to at least trade down with one of those quarterback needy teams later on in this top 10. Speaking of trade downs, we'll get there in just a second.
I
But
know.
yeah, I mean, I think that these guys are going to go 1 and 2. You can debate the order, and Mitch, if your preferred order is C.J. Stroud followed by Bryce Young, you can get some pretty solid odds on that in the betting market right now. So you
That's
might
what I've
want to,
seen.
yeah. I mean, C.J. Stroud is plus 350 right now to go number 1 overall, and Bryce Young is all the way down at plus 400 to go number
Yeah.
2 overall. I think they're going to be 1 and 2. I think it will be Bryce Young followed by Stroud, but if you think it's the other way around, you can definitely get some good value right there right
You
now.
can make a few shekels if it goes the other way.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we got quarterbacks off the board. 1 and 2, the Arizona Cardinals are on the board. Their top needs: edge, interior offensive line, and cornerback. There is a guy also from Tuscaloosa who is going in over 90% of mock drafts. Does he go here at number 3 to your Cardinals?
He does not, but not because, if they
Ooh.
stand in there at number 3, then yes, it will be Will Anderson. But I think the Cardinals, just as an organization, are in such a dumpster fire scenario right now that they absolutely need to take advantage of the quarterback needy teams and get someone, anybody like the Raiders, the Patriots, anybody that's looking at getting one of these quarterbacks. They have to be thinking we have to get out of number 3, in my opinion. Will Anderson would be awesome. I think the fan base would be really happy with that pick. But from a team building standpoint, I think they need to trade down. I think they need to get as many picks as possible. And I'm sure they've been working out the scenarios. In my scenario that we're going to map out today, they're going to trade down to number 7, one of my other teams, and trade down with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, signed Jimmy Garoppolo as kind of a stopgap quarterback after losing Derek Carr. I don't think anyone thinks that's a long-term solution. So Raiders are going to trade up and try to get their guy. We're going to run this through the simulator just really quickly. And, they're going to trade down to number 7 for Arizona. Arizona's going to hope like heck that Will Anderson somehow falls to them at 7. I don't think that happens. I don't think that in that scenario we see that pick get to happen, but you never know. And I think that they're going to be looking at probably taking a best player available and picking up some picks as well. So we're going to trade down to number 7. And with the Raiders now on the clock, we are going to take a franchise quarterback that probably has a little bit of controversy behind him. We're not going to take
Oh,
Will
no.
Levis. We're going to take Anthony Richardson. And here's why I'm taking Anthony Richardson number 3 overall. I think the Raiders are in a really nice spot that a lot of NFL franchises wish they were in, where they can kind of let Anthony Richardson sit for a little bit behind Jimmy Garoppolo. They have a solid situation. I'm not going to say it's a good situation with Garoppolo running the show, but as long as he stays healthy, they can win some games. They can get Anthony Richardson eased into this, and I think that's what Richardson will need. And also, it's the Raiders, right? We know that they, as historically as a franchise, they love to make a pick like Anthony Richardson. A lot of flash, a lot of pizzazz, and hope that they can turn him into something. So that's who I'm going with. We're trading down. Arizona's trading down 4 spots to number 7. Vegas trades up, gets their quarterback, and gets the heir apparent to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Wow, that throws a wrench into all of this. For the trade details, so I don't know if you have picks kind of lined up. Las Vegas has 38, 70, and 100 inside the top 100. What do you think it takes for for Las Vegas to move up to 4
Yes.
spots?
So we're running it through the simulator right now. I've got 7, and I've got next year's first and next year's second. And we're going to run that through the trade here. It looks like that says it's overbalanced. So we'll go just this year's first. We'll go with the 107 and next year's first. I think that should get it done, at least for these simulation purposes. and
Okay.
we'll kind of roll from there.
Okay. So number 7 plus a 2024 first rounder to move up 4 spots. I'm wondering if that's going to be enough. I wonder if they would have to throw in 70, or I would say they'd have to throw in 70. Like if you come to me,
Probably.
if I'm Arizona, I'm kind of demanding 70 there. If you're going to come up, because you're jumping a team in Indianapolis who's also, I'm sure, going to be on the phone trying to see, okay, hey, are you moving out here? Because Indianapolis now has had the rug pulled out from under them, right? They want a guy like Anthony Richardson there at number 4. I don't know if they want Will Levis or not. I mean, certainly this is like the ultimate uncomfy position for me as now on the clock with Indianapolis, because I hate Will Levis as a top 5 pick. I'm not in on him. He hasn't done it successfully in college. I don't have any reason to believe he's going to be this generational prospect now at the pro level, especially because intangibles like accuracy, they just don't get better as you go up in competition, right? I mean, you see that thrown around on Twitter all the time. Oh, he's got the arm, he's got the frame. Now you just need to teach him accuracy. It doesn't get any easier. Like I don't know what you're supposed to teach a guy when he's got all pro generational edge rushers flying at him in under 3 seconds, and then oh by the way, you've got, another all pro cornerback locking down your favorite receiver out wide. Like that's not a recipe for increased accuracy and betting on that. So if I'm Indianapolis, now I'd like to trade out. The problem is I don't see an easy fit. I don't I don't see a place that Indianapolis can naturally trade down to find this quarterback. I'm looking at, is there any way that the Commanders would want to come up? But that's a lot of, draft capital that Washington would have to give up to move from 16 to 4. The Detroit Lions have a pick at 6, so they're not trying to move up very far at all. This is a tough spot for Indianapolis. So I'm going to say, because you've pulled the rug out from under the Colts here, they're working the phones. They're trying to move down. I don't think anybody's going to be willing to move down. So this is going to make me sick. But I think Indianapolis is going to take Will Levis here, given the board, given the situation. And I think you have 4 quarterbacks go in the first 4 picks. So Will Levis now may have to be the reach for Indianapolis, right? They need a franchise quarterback, something terrible. They wanted Anthony Richardson. He's not on the board anymore. If you move down and Will Levis goes, you are truly up a creek without a paddle. So they're going to take Will Levis. It may end up being one of the all-time reaches in the first round, but I think that's what the Colts front office would do. And for this mock draft, I'm not going what I would do here, right? I'm trying to get inside the minds, the reality that these front offices are facing, as are you. I think they're kind of backed into a corner here.
Is there any other quarterback that they could possibly take other than Will Levis?
So I would say you absolutely could wait until 35, and I think you could get Hendon Hooker.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Or Tanner McKee. The problem is you've started to see Hendon Hooker talked about at the end of the first round with teams like the Bucks or a team just in front of them. Like if Houston hadn't gone with a quarterback at 2, I think that the Texans might be willing to take a quarterback there at the end of at the beginning of the second round. But there's just so many variables that you're having to weigh here. And maybe the Colts take a guy like Will Anderson. Maybe they take best player available here at 4. But the quarterback has been what's missed from that franchise for the last several years. And to me, I don't think that Jim Irsay is going to be willing to take that gamble to wait any longer. He was dead set on getting a quarterback at 4. I think you're going to have a little bit of FOMO creep in. And Will Levis, look, you're seeing him talked about in the top 10. So in their mind, I don't think this is going to be a big reach. It's just not the guy that they ultimately want. But we'll give them Will Levis at 4.
Yeah, and I think this is going to end up. There's a lot of teams that need a quarterback, and it's going to be a situation where one team is going to be left holding the Will Levis bag and hoping beyond hope that it works out because they have to take a quarterback. They feel backed into that corner. And yeah, that's just how it's going to work out. And Indianapolis in this scenario is the unlucky, in our mind, team to take that. Maybe you're a Will Levis stan and you are all about that and you think that that's going to be a great pick that works out for Indianapolis. But I think those people are decreasing in number by the day as we get closer to this draft.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Gracious him. How about